So I've had to admit to myself, and that's as recently as yesterday, that I think I take life too seriously. So, for example, yesterday, and I'm not too sure whether I referenced that on whilst we're talking into the microphone or before we got on air, but I talked about the fact that I had to do a photo shoot yesterday, and you can imagine all the things that can go wrong with a photo shoot. And I kept going through all the emotions, so getting crazy, angry, this, that. But I think somewhere in the middle of all of that, for example, for the studio bit, we got into the studio, started shooting, and then just about an hour into the shoot, the lights go out. Bam! Hey! Models are sweating, and then we have a lot of looks to shoot. And so I go and ask, is there any gen here? They're like, there's no gen. And then you can imagine, you know me a bit, so I just go off. But somewhere, let's say 3 or so hours afterwards, I realized we're finding a way to make it work. So just as recently as yesterday, I had to tell myself that I think I take life too seriously. I'm just that type of a person who when I'm doing anything, I want it to be like 100%. And I think you can't always get it that way, right? And so it's just like I said a bit earlier on, and most of the things I said earlier on about, for example, the ego and stuff, I was actually just talking to myself. Yeah. So it's realizing that things can go wrong, but when things go wrong, that's not the end of life, right? But it's been a journey for me, and you know my personal story. In fact, I had to admit to myself, I think that must have been 2023 December, that I've had functional depression for the long time. So for the longest time, I realized that I've changed. I'm not who I used to be. I used to be somebody who used to hang out, especially even on Facebook, carrying on and stuff like that. I guess when people even send me messages on Facebook, more often than not, I actually just respond in my brain, and I never get around to actually responding. But here's how functional depression works. I can show up and work. But then after work, if you were to say, oh, let's hang out, I'll probably give you an excuse and just go into my bed and probably be lying in bed and just scrolling on Facebook. And so that has been my experience. I've done all sorts of therapy personally, and I think we're trying to personalize this, right? I think what's working for me now is meditation. And so I wake up every morning and then I ground myself, just talk to myself, and also remind myself of the things that are really most important in life. And literally none of that have to do with the success of the business, really. So understanding that life is way more than all the metrics that we put to different things. So that's what has helped me personally.